October 28, 1943, the USS Eldridge vanished from a naval shipyard. Witnesses claim they saw it happen. The ship was there, then it wasn't. That's the core claim that's haunted military archives and conspiracy forums for 80 years. A naval destroyer escort, the USS Eldridge, allegedly disappeared from the Philadelphia Naval Shipyard in broad daylight. Some accounts place sailors aboard when it happened. Others describe the vessel reappearing not in Philadelphia but in Norfolk, Virginia, hundreds of miles away, in seconds. Let's rewind. August 1956. A man named Carl Allen sent a letter to a UFO researcher named Morris K. Jessup. Allen claimed to be a witness. He said he'd seen the impossible at the shipyard 13 years prior. The letter contained technical jargon about electromagnetic fields. It referenced something called Project Rainbow. No official military project by that name has ever been confirmed to exist. Jessup took the letter seriously. He began investigating. He contacted the Navy. The Navy, through official channels, denied everything. No such experiment, no such ship disappearance, no record of Project Rainbow. The denial was clean, bureaucratic, final, but Jessup didn't stop. He published a book, then another. Each time he circled back to the same story. Each time official records stayed silent. Here's where the story gets complicated. Allen's letter mentioned witnesses, sailors who were aboard the Eldridge. One name surfaced repeatedly: Duncan Cameron, another Edward Dudgeon. These men, according to various accounts, had experienced the teleportation firsthand. They'd felt the ship move, they'd seen crew members vanish midair, they'd aged, they'd gotten sick. The alleged effects were catastrophic. The mechanics, as explained in Allen's accounts, involved a radical electromagnetic field. The Navy, he claimed, was experimenting with invisibility technology, a cloaking device. The Eldridge was the test platform. The field supposedly bent light around the vessel. It made the ship invisible to radar and to the human eye, but something went wrong. The field didn't just hide the ship, it displaced it. In 1955, Jessup received another package, anonymous sender. Inside were handwritten annotations in the margins of a classified Navy technical manual. The annotations described the Eldridge experiment in detail. They referenced the electromagnetic theory. They mentioned dates and locations. The handwriting was erratic, obsessive. Someone had spent hours annotating this document. The Navy later claimed the annotations were hoaxes, deliberate fabrications. But skepticism has its own weight. The USS Eldridge was a real ship. That's documented. Its service record exists. It served in the Atlantic. It engaged in convoy escort missions. It survived the war. No disappearance is recorded in any official Navy log. No crew members reported missing. No unexplained casualties. The ship's movements are tracked in naval archives. They're mundane, routine, explicable. The alleged teleportation to Norfolk presents another problem. Naval logistics were strict, documented. A destroyer escort doesn't move between shipyards without paperwork. Requisitions, fuel logs, crew manifests, change of command ceremonies, nothing of this sort appears in the record. The ship's timeline shows it remaining in Philadelphia during the alleged October 1943 incident. No break in the documentation, no gaps. The electromagnetic theory itself faces scrutiny. The physics of 1943 didn't support teleportation through space. The theory required technology that wouldn't exist for decades. Quantum entanglement wasn't understood. Warp drives remained science fiction. The Navy in 1943 was focused on radar development and hull design, not on bending spacetime. The technological leap required seems implausible, even for a classified program. Carl Allen himself became a point of contention. Researchers eventually tracked him down. He lived a quiet life. He was reluctant to discuss the letters in depth. He offered vague confirmations but no new evidence. Some investigators believed he'd fabricated the entire story. Others thought he was repeating second-hand accounts he'd heard. A few believed he was suppressed, silenced, afraid. His motivation remained unclear. The annotated documents proved to be the most puzzling element. Handwriting experts couldn't definitively link them to Allen. The Navy dismissed them as pranks, but the level of technical detail was sophisticated. Whoever wrote those annotations understood electromagnetic theory. They knew Navy terminology. They'd researched the subject extensively. The annotations could have been hoax. They could have been genuine. The evidence allows both interpretations. Decades passed, the story mutated. It entered UFO folklore. It became a staple of conspiracy culture. Books were written, documentaries produced. Each retelling added details, altered facts, introduced new witnesses with no verifiable background. The original account became obscured by layers of speculation. What Allen actually claimed was lost beneath what people wanted him to have claimed. The Philadelphia experiment remains unsolved because it may never have happened. The evidence is circumstantial at best. A letter, anonymous annotations, uncorroborated testimony, a ship that served normally, a Navy that denied everything, no physical evidence, no photographs, no radiation readings, no affected crew members who came forward under their own names with sustained accounts. Yet the story persists. It appeals to something deep in the historical imagination. The possibility that governments possess technology beyond public understanding, that classified research happens in shadows, that the truth is hidden. These aren't unreasonable concerns. Governments do classify research. Military programs are secret, but this story specifically lacks the forensic weight to support its claims. What we know for certain, the USS Eldridge existed. It served in World War II. Its records are accessible. Carl Allen wrote letters making extraordinary claims. He provided no conclusive proof. The Navy denied the story. Official documentation contradicts it. The physics required were beyond 1943 capability. The witnesses never testified publicly. The story remains in the realm of unverified claim. The Philadelphia experiment endures as a historical mystery, not because evidence supports it, but because it raises questions about what governments conceal, about the limits of declassified records, about the gap between official narratives and lived experience. These are legitimate historical concerns. They just don't apply cleanly to this particular case. The mystery might simply be that an ordinary ship became an extraordinary legend. Sometimes the unsolved mysteries aren't unsolved because the truth is hidden. They're unsolved because the evidence was never there. The Philadelphia experiment teaches us to ask harder questions, not about what the government hid, but about what we accept as proof, what we demand as evidence, and why some stories matter more to us than facts. Subscribe for the next historical puzzle, where documentation fails and legend takes over.